welcome to this 10 Minutes About by Global Risk Management. Today I have Arne with me in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're going to be talking about oil and the oil markets. So, Arne, first of all, oil has been under pressure for the last couple of months. We have seen Brent drop to above $58 US dollars. What is going on here? Too little demand or too much supply?
And there's no doubt that the sentiment has changed in the oil market. Remember back, I think when we were standing here before the summer holiday, optimism was high, a lot of demand, the economy was doing better, even someone talking about maybe we could go to 100. It has really turned around the last 2 months or so. I think there's a growing demand concern, as you mentioned, especially in respect of China. China is slowing down. We also see that the global industrial cycle is slowing down. It's slowing down in Europe. It's slowing down in the US. It's slowing down in China. So there's definitely something going on the demand side that is putting prices under pressure. And then of course there's also always a supply side.
Yes, because that's maybe the next question connecting this. What about OPEC? Where are they here?
Yeah, that's a good question, because they are, of course, an important sort of part of the sort of supply side. OPEC introduced this plan a few months ago that they would like to add more oil to the market. The initial plan was to start 1st of October. Then they postponed it and will now start 1st of December, and then slowly putting more oil on the market during next year. Personally, I think that would be difficult for them. There's simply not room enough for more oil in the market, because you also have to remember there's oil coming from the US, Guyana, Canada, Brazil. There's a lot of non-OPEC oil coming to the market, and in that scenario, there's not room for more OPEC oil. Actually, this morning, the Financial Times ran a story saying that the Saudis are actually planning to go on with this plan, and if they do that, I think it will be difficult for them to even keep the price of today, even though we have seen this price drop of almost $15 from the top a few months ago.
Okay. And I mean, is there also kind of the structural story here? I mean, we have the green transition and maybe a bit lower growth permanently, even more permanently in China. Are they?
Definitely. I think there's two stories going on here. We often talk about the sort of the business cycle going up and down. The rate cuts from the central banks that are supporting oil demand. I think the economy will improve next year, but there's also a structural story going on, and I think you mentioned it with China. There's actually now more EVs being sold than fossil fuel cars. There's a lot of LNG in trucking in China. So we're used to that China was sort of the big driver for oil demand. That has actually changed now. They're still consuming more oil, but it's to a much lower degree than we were used to just a few years ago. So a lot of things going on in India and other places in Asia, but it cannot really make up for what we're seeing in China. So that's definitely a structural thing. Coming on top of that the Chinese economy is sort of, from a business point of view, is also struggling, that they have a hard time reaching this, for example, 5%. And it's of course not just China. The green transition is going on everywhere. So yes, there's also a structural thing here. We actually see that there's a lot of discussion about this, because this is also a part of when will oil demand peak. If we go, for example, the International Energy Agency, they would say this will happen in 3 or 4 years' time. The OPEC, maybe not a big surprise. They say, no, this will not happen for many years. Demand will continue to power ahead, because Asia, for example, is still growing quite fast. There's still a huge population that will try to get a car and so on, that might not necessarily buy an electric car and so on. I think the truth is probably somewhere in between. We still need more oil, but it's definitely the demand growth is slowing down. Maybe we have been used to that when the economy is growing, 3%, oil demand is maybe growing half. Maybe that is not going to apply to the same degree in the future.
Okay. And I know you have just been published this budget outlook for 2025. Can you maybe give us a little sneak peek here?
Yeah, that's correct. And when we talk about the oil, the question is, of course, if you're in a budget process, what assumptions should you do on energy prices? Should you assume that Saudis will actually put all this oil on the market, that the OPEC Plus will put on the oil on the market that they've been saying they intend to? Then you can actually, I think, put in some relatively low forecast, probably below the current level. If you believe that we're heading for a recession, oil prices could also come down further. I don't think that we're heading for a recession, actually. Interest rate cuts, healthy wage growth, lower inflation actually means that the household sector in basically all countries in the world are quite well off, quite good off. Next year we see rate cuts in China, we see fiscal easing should also support the Chinese economy, so we're not going into a recession. So maybe the demand side is actually better than a lot of people think. And also on the supply side, I actually believe that OPEC will scrap the plans of more oil because they realize there's not room for this. And then I actually think it makes sense to say that oil will probably edge back up to maybe towards the around the 80 level. So I think that makes is a sort of a fair level to assume for oil prices and oil products, whatever you are using for next year. It also means that I think there's actually could be some opportunities here in the autumn. If you have exposure to hedge it as an attractive, relatively attractive level, you still have a bit of a backwardation in some of the oil products and so on. So there could be a window of opportunity here for the next couple of months to hedge exposure for next year.
And what about the price itself?
Yeah, I think we are going towards this 80 level. So that's also sort of my forecast for oil prices next year, that we are moving a bit high. But to be honest, uncertainty is, once again, very, very high. And I think a lot of the uncertainty actually relates to how OPEC Plus is going to deal with this plan of adding more oil to the market. Are they sticking to a strategy that says we're focusing on price and give up market share, give up volume? Or are they moving to a strategy where they put more focus on volume? Then we could have lower prices. On the economic side, I think a lot of people are a bit too pessimistic on the economic outlook, the growth outlook for the global economy next year.
And what about this budget outlook that you have been doing?
Yeah, that is available for our clients. If you haven't received it by mail, get in touch with your salesperson at Global Risk Management, and they can send it to you, and we can have a discussion on how we see the world next year. Or you can also contact me directly, or you, Lisa. I'm sure you will also forward it.
For sure.
Thank you.
All right. Arne, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.